welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today has been one of those days. I've been having a lot of head pain, and I've been lately doing a lot of things that I'm not supposed to be doing. And it is simply because I have been having a difficult time restraining myself from using digital devices. I go through different episodes of this if there's something going on that I'm excited about. And so I've mentioned that we're looking for a house, and we have one that we're very interested in. And so I just keep looking at it, and dreaming and imagining and like, oh, well, I'm going to put this furniture in here and this picture would look good there. And I can't wait to sit here. And, I mean, I just using my imagination. But I'm also trying to use the what's accessible to me to be dreamy about the house. And what I need to do is pull back and practice some self-restraint. So I talked to my husband about it. I said really need to pull back and start taking care of myself because my head is just out of control. To the point where if I keep going, I'm just going to be bedridden at this point. So I did lay down after lunch today and slept all afternoon until dinner time, which is pretty much what I suspected was going to happen because of the pain in my head. So I didn't get to go to my vestibular recovery, my medically retired vestibular support group. I can't remember what it's called at the moment. But so that's a bummer. I always love going there, but I needed to sleep, and I needed to sleep so much that I didn't want to set my alarm or anything like that. So I wanted to record. This is like I'm at that point, and this is what I was talking to my psychiatrist about last week, is like I need to really think about what I'm doing and what the repercussions are. Knowing, like, I talked about it last Wednesday, I think, when I was talking to my psychiatrist. I feel like I recorded about it too and said, what am I stealing away from my future self by what I'm doing right now? And I've been doing a lot of stealing away from my future self. I can't be thoroughly excited if I don't feel good. So I also today's Mondays are cleaning day for me. And although I got a lot of cleaning done, it wasn't to the degree that I really wanted to because I ended up laying down and that was that. So I am stealing away from my what am I able to do if I'm looking at digital devices. I just simply can't do it. And those of you who are in recovery or are dealing with vestibular disorder or have had a stroke, even in sobriety, it's like I keep wanting to push my limits and see if my limits are still there. And I'm sure that resonates with lots of people who have relapsed in recovery, is you want to push the limits and see if if you've still got the disease. And it's the same way in the stroke recovery. And I was talking to my psychiatrist about that too. It's like I want to keep pushing my limits to make sure that I've still got it. So there's two things that happen. I either want to push my limits to see if my limits are still the same, which they are, they have been, they've never changed. or I want to do what I want to do despite the limitations. And I think that's what happens a lot. Like as I continue to try to accept my limitations, um, I am pushing those limits and it'll come with time. It'll come with time. So what I actually wanted to talk about is the spiritual fitness, because that applies in vestibular recovery. It's across the board for me. I talk about all the time that my sobriety really mirrors my stroke recovery and that emotional aspect, that emotional part of it, and versus the physical and the spiritual side. Before I got sober, I mean, 5 years into sobriety, I still didn't get the spiritual stuff. I didn't get what spirituality was. I didn't know the difference really between religion and spirituality. Like, I didn't get it, and I certainly am no expert. But what I define it as for me is like, am I able to, am I able to be happy in whatever situation I'm in? What is the circumstance? And am I able to accept it and be joyful despite? And what it reminds me of is quitting drinking, being dry versus being sober, being emotionally sober, um, sober but not spiritually fit is a recipe for a relapse. Because sobriety is about living without alcohol. Living. That's the key part word there is living, not staying alive. It's living without alcohol, living without a drink, um, without being full of resentments and fears and restlessness. And that spiritual fitness, it's important to understand that it is dynamic, it's fluid, and it every morning I wake up with a different number of spoons, and my cup is either half full, half empty, or somewhere in between. That is for me like the fluidity of it, the dynamic part of it. And it depends on like how much am I taking care of myself? How much am I connecting with people on an emotional level? How much am I taking care of myself physically? And am I doing my exercises? Am I not pushing my limits with my head? Am I going for walks? Am I spiritually? Am I praying? Am I meditating? Am I taking a break from that which is external and visiting internally? You know, am I turning inward and just checking in and checking in? Are all your parts okay, Rachel? Like your heart, your mind, your soul. Is everything in there okay? That is spiritual fitness for me. And to remind me how to do that every day, I go to my morning sobriety meeting. It automatically turns the lens around and allows me to look inward. Um, because all of that illness, all of the sickness that's happening underneath the physical stuff is it's invisible, those resentments. And then the flip side of it, the faith, the hope, giving myself, being graceful and kind with myself and patient, learning how to get out of my own way and yet out of myself as well. Beginning to believe in things, believe in like the signs. I talked a lot about signs over the past several weeks. Am I believing in things that I don't see? Because there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot of stuff that for me, the most amazing things that there are in life are things that can't be seen. The miracles and the healing and the change and the wind and the heat and all of that precious stuff that we experience in life, it's all unseen. And that's where the spiritual awareness is for me in recovery. So this morning, as happens many days of the week, there was a lot of focus on God in my morning sobriety meeting. And so I was thinking about my original, like, I guess how my journey started with walking into the sobriety meetings and seeing the word God all over the steps. And the steps were written on this big piece of paper we were in Charlestown. So on this big piece of, paper in front of the room. And I'm looking up at it. It's almost like one of those flip charts, like a trainer would have. So the steps were up there and there was God all over it. And I was just like, here we go. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to have faith. I don't know if I'm comfortable having faith. I don't know if I'm good enough to have faith, but I just kept coming because what was the alternative? Things were going to stay the same or get worse. And I wasn't willing to do that for sure. So I just kept coming and I kept hearing people say things like getting down on their knees to pray and just prayer. Have you prayed about it? Like all of these little sayings they would talk about and talking about prayer and God and stuff. And I just listened. I just allowed myself to hear it and not judge it. And if I'm being completely honest, like in the very beginning, I was judging it. I was like, oh, these people, I mean, that's what I was thinking because that behavior was learned. Um, my response to talk about God and religion and all of that stuff was learned. And so I needed to relearn. Hearing my sponsor say God all the time and then learning to say it myself. Those of you who have been listening since the beginning, and I can't believe it, but there are some of you that have been listening since the beginning, you know that I was barely able to say the word God in my beginning episodes. And so when I started this podcast, I was already getting on my knees to pray at night before I went to bed. But that started not not long before I started the podcast. Yeah, I mean probably a year before I started the podcast. So before my stroke, I was in a sobriety meeting, and the speaker at the front of the room was talking about getting on their knees before bed and praying. And so I leaned over to my sponsor who was sitting next to me and I said, "Do you do that? Do you get on your knees?" And she said, "No." And when she said that, like, I was kind of surprised because she is a very faithful person. And I felt like, oh, well, I felt like everybody was doing it but me. And she said she didn't do it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to try it. And I told her that I would try it. And in the beginning, I felt embarrassed. So, like, I shut my bedroom door because I didn't want my kids to walk in on me and be like, Mom, what are you doing? Oh, I dropped something. Yeah, I dropped something, because I was just embarrassed and feeling like I would be judged. Why did I feel that? Because I learned that's what we do. We judge religion. That's what I had been exposed to, I guess. So I was embarrassed to do it. I didn't want somebody to think that I was turning crazy or something. So after over time, like as I practiced doing it, I stopped shutting the door. And then I started to feel like by the time we moved into this house, which was unbelievably like 5 years ago, it seems like we just moved here, but 5 years ago, I started feeling a little less embarrassed if somebody walked in on me. I think I've only one time my daughter came in the room and she didn't say anything, and I just looked up at her. I was like, "Yeah." And that was it. There was nothing. Um, and it was good for me. It was good for nothing to happen. I don't know if she remembers that, but I remember that. So these prayers over the years, when I get on my knees, I just until 2 weeks ago, and that's how things evolve. Like over time, if I keep doing these things, they evolve. Something strikes me and things shift. Not like internally, things shift inside me, in my mind and in my heart. And so in the past couple weeks, what I've realized is when I do get on my knees to say my prayers before I go to bed, I had been feeling like I was dialing him in, like God, come in, God, you know? And I realized that, okay, once again, Rachel, if you're all in on this faith thing, if you're practicing the principles in all of your affairs, if your concept of God is what you are saying it is to yourself, then you don't have to turn the dial or dial up his number like you're calling him on the phone, like he's already here. So I realized that that was happening, and it was kind of funny to me. It's funny to me now too. Like, I don't need to call God into the room because he's already there. Like, he's here right now. And I think that that is something that I'm trying to add into my concept of God, because I feel like throughout the day, I'm continuing to like dial him up, you know? And what I would like my concept of God to be, and it can be whatever I want it to be, whatever works for me and keeps me sober and keeps me emotionally sober and spiritually fit, that's what I'm building for myself. So if I want it to be this shift, then he is never gone. He's always with me. So this act of acknowledgement is building an even more intimate and trusting relationship with my higher power. So it's been pretty fascinating to be on this journey, and it all is willingness. That's all it is. Once I was able to get past my own self-judgment, because that's really what was happening. I was judging myself for, are you crazy? I hate saying that. That's why I laugh afterwards, because I know it's not okay to say that, but that's what I felt like. But the more that I normalize it, the more that I start to find God in ordinary things, right? The reading this morning, I think it was this morning, or maybe it was the other day. I don't know. Because if you haven't noticed, I've stopped recording on the weekends, and um, I just have felt like I deserve a break. I deserve a break. I still do all things recovery on the weekends too, but I think it's been a nice break for my head because there is a lot of energy that goes into this. With reading and writing and posting on social media and this talking with a lot of high energy for about a half an hour. It does take a lot out of me. And when I don't feel well, as I haven't been for a couple weeks, it lasts like a freaking month for me to get myself back together again. But anyway, it was one of the past couple days that the reading was talking about somebody just, I think they were on the beach or something. I don't even remember what meeting it was in. But acknowledging, I think this person was talking about how they didn't necessarily believe in God or something, and then started to recognize like he's in everything. He's not in some things, he's in everything, even the most ordinary things. It was talking about the atoms that make up a grain of sand, and without them, there is no grain of sand. And then it went on to say the atoms that make up me. Without them, I wouldn't be here, something like that. And for this author, it made them realize just the smallest of things that God is in them, um, and taking pleasure in the smallest of things. One thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is the wind, because I know that the wind obviously is a impact of climate stuff. And if I knew more about it, I wouldn't be doing a podcast. I'd be on TV. But the wind is something that feels so good, and it does so much, and yet we can't see it, but we know it's there. We feel it. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, there's just so much around us, the pleasures of life, the small pleasures of life that we can't see, but they're there. And I want to continue to build this um, this confidence and intimacy and trust with my concept of my higher power, and I can do that. And what helps me do that is gratitude. Gratitude has plays a very big role in spiritual practice, and I find that I can build that intimacy more when I get still. So the pauses, being present. I can't notice all of those small, invisible things around me that God is in if I don't slow down and get present. I'm always talking about putting my head where my feet are, putting my mind where my feet are. And if I don't do that, I can't have a lot of gratitude, right? I can't be grateful for all the things around me if my head is somewhere else. Side note, Boris is freaking adorable. He's half asleep and his tongue's hanging out, and he just like woke up like he was having a dream, and he just stared at me like, what, who, where am I? And now he's snoring again. um, so that confidence, that ongoing connection, um, all of that it's like it's feeding on itself. The spirituality gave me freedom, and that freedom has helped me feed my spirituality. And that my sobriety has given me confidence, and that confidence has helped me feed my sobriety. Don't feel alone. And that's pretty freaking amazing. Granted, I have added a bigger network and fellowship with my stroke survivor friends and my vestibular recovery friends. Um, no matter what pain I'm in, I know that everyone is there for me and I am there for them. Before I went down to take a nap today, I sent a text message to one of my vesties, as I call them, who agreed to send me a text before on Mondays, right before my vestibular support group meeting, because I kept forgetting. So I texted her before my nap and I was like, look, my head is really bad, and I'm gonna take a nap, and most likely I'm not gonna be awake for our meeting. So I'm gonna be a no-show. And she just sent a text back about, just encouraging me. I hope you feel better. Like, if you have stuff about the topic that we talked about today that you need to talk about next time, I'm sure you can bring it up then. It was all about making sure that I was getting the support that I needed. And not just physically, because I needed to lay down and take a nap because I was physically not feeling well. But she was thinking, when somebody says they feel like shit and you're like, oh, I'm sorry, I hope you feel better soon. Well, it wasn't like that. It was like, get the rest that you need. Now let's talk about what's going on inside of you. If you have something that you need to talk about, you can bring it. You can still bring it like that. You don't have a lost opportunity with us. You can still check in. And there's all kinds of ways to get in touch with these besties of mine. We have, well, now I have a phone number of at least one of them. And then we also have a Google chat group. And there's just always a way to have people in crisis or not in crisis who just want to check in, who can connect. So, where was I going with that? I don't know. It's just super nice to have that kind of connection. Um, and that's what keeps me spiritually fit. That's what keeps me spiritually fed. It's like I don't want to get off the ride while it's moving, and it seems to not stop moving, the spiritual journey. So I just keep doing it. I keep providing myself with daily nourishment, and that is going to my meetings I talk about all the time, my podcast, my fellowship, but it's also all of those little tools that I learn in my program about pause, pray, meditate, humility, willingness, open mind, all of that stuff keeps me on the ride. Um, I don't need to have to try to be a good person. These tools just guide me in that direction. As long as I stay connected, and wouldn't you know it, when I'm connecting with people in the fellowship who all have the same tools, we are all on the ride together. And my concept of God may be different from theirs, but there is a presence for all of us. And it keeps us all, give me a word. Um, Woven together. There you go. It keeps us all woven together, that presence. No matter what I call it, she calls it, he calls it, there is a unity among us. And you showing up to this podcast, you're a part of that unity. You're a part of that woven fabric. And I'm so freaking grateful. I'm so freaking grateful for it. So thanks for showing up today for me. Thanks for showing up for you. And I will talk to you tomorrow.